Then on the 15th I arrived and he said, as soon as you finish this week, I'll take you out. I said, Lou, I came to spend the weekend with you on Valentine's Day, and he said, so it is, but I'll take a course this weekend. I said, how so? He said, we had the first fight, and it was very serious, but that was the first fight in 36 years. You fight and you talk. You know that we already had a problem 18 years ago. Then on the 15th I arrived and he said, as soon as you finish this week, I'll take you out. I said, Lou, I came to spend the weekend with you, and it's Valentine's Day, so I'll take the course. He said, I understand, but I'll take the course. We had our first serious fight, but that was the first fight. Even in 94 we had a problem. You thought that everything was solved. He said, everyone slept in a room that we slept in together until then. On that day, each of us slept in a room. It was 3 hours from morning. I didn't sleep. I cried. He arrived in the room and said, I wanted to hurt you, and I spoke like this, from here goes there. I don't want to talk to you. At 6:30 in the morning he came for the room I was in. I thought everything was fine, but he said he wanted to talk. I went to bed and we slept in separate rooms. On that day, each of us slept in a room. It was 3 hours from morning. I didn't sleep. I cried. He came to my room and said, I wanted to hurt you. I said, from here it goes there. I don't want to talk to you. At 6:30 in the morning he came to my room. I was already calmer. He lay on the bed and stayed there. Ding die 6:35. His cell phone. He touched it and said, is 0300 a marketing here? 0300 at 6:30 in the morning. There's 3, he said. I'll pass coffee and leave the cell phone next to me. I played again. I answered, and it was the name of that person my friend said. He said, he is having one case to another. He also said, this business is weird. I played attendee, hung up, and then it touched the 3rd. Sometimes I had the confirmation that it was you. Then I said, hi, so, all right, you want to talk to my husband for a moment. I got there in the kitchen and spoke. So your lover wants to talk to you. Music. I was born in the interior of Sao Paulo in a small town called Piquet. I was born with a physical disability. I played a lot with attendee and I hung up from it. I touched the 3rd sometimes. I had the confirmation that it was you, you know that thing. Then I said, hi, so-and-so. All right, you want to talk to my husband for a moment. I got there in the kitchen and delivered to him. I spoke. So your lover wants to talk to you. Music. I was born in the interior of Sao Paulo in a small town called Piquet. I was born with a congenital disability that was not discovered soon after I was born. I found out when I started to take my first steps because I cried with a lot of pain. I practically spent my childhood in rooms undergoing surgery after surgery to simply walk. It took 5 surgeries and I started these surgeries around 1.5 years of age. They were up to 5 years old. Then I started walking around 5 years of age. Surgeries were very large orthopedic surgeries from under the armpit, the little body. I was born with a congenital condition that went undetected for years. It wasn't until I started walking that I had my first surgery. I had 5 surgeries in total and I was in the hospital for about 5 years. The surgeries were very extensive, involving my entire right leg and foot, from the armpit to the tip of my foot. Sometimes my left leg would get stiff and I would have trouble bending it. But after 6 months, I was able to move my leg around and had a normal life until I was 48. Then I needed a total hip replacement. That's when I realized that I had been disabled since childhood. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want to be a burden, but it was hard for me to go on. My leg was strong and healthy, going all the way from the tip of my foot to my shorts. Sometimes I had a limp and I was 6 months stiff, but then I was able to live a normal life until I was 48. That's when I needed a total hip replacement. I fell and said, I've always been disabled. I could still walk, but I had to use a cane. I went through everything and I think I was a normal child. I was taken care of by my parents, who loved me. Later, I developed bronchitis and had to go to the hospital. At 48, I realized that I had a PCD, so I got a total hip replacement. My driver's license became PCD, so I had to have an automatic car. I had to take PCD, but I believe this whole history became. I had a pretty normal childhood, thanks to my parents' love and care. But at age 48, I was diagnosed with a PCD, which required me to get a total hip replacement. I had to get a driver's license for a car with an automatic transmission. I had to learn to drive with a PCD, but I'm grateful for the resilience it taught me. I dated a bit, and my first serious boyfriend was the third person I dated at home. He was the first man in my life and we had a beautiful relationship. I didn't have much experience with relationships, so it was very funny. My ex-boyfriend and I lived in the same house and we were very similar, two teenagers who played together. Music, I was a resilient person. I dated a little and my husband was my first serious boyfriend. The third boyfriend I introduced at home was the first. He was my first man, my first everything. We lived in a beautiful relationship. I can say it was beautiful. I didn't have it lived in. It was very funny. He lived at my ex-boyfriend's house and my ex-boyfriend was my ex-boyfriend's aqua boyfriend. We were very similar, two teenagers who played here. The people here were very nice. We went to waterfalls a lot. The things we did were very inner. We swam in rivers. He came from Campinas. He had already finished his training as a technician and lived there. One day, I finished with my ex-boyfriend and we started talking. My parents had a trade here in the mechanical workshop region and he brought the car of my brother's boyfriend. It looked like my brother's boyfriend's car. We started talking. We talked. We had such a great time going to waterfalls. He was from Campinas and he had already been working as a technician there. He lived there, and one day, I broke up with my ex-boyfriend. We started talking and my parents had a trade here in the mechanical workshop region. He brought the car of my brother's boyfriend and we started talking. We talked and we started dating. It was a very intense relationship. I studied at school in a city here, and he worked in this city so he was there all the time after he left high school. We had lunch together from there, and then I came home at night. We dated and we were boyfriend and girlfriend. My mother said, "This guy's family needs to meet your family because he has puppies." We went to Campinas and we knew his family. We were inseparable and our love only grew stronger over time. He was a high school student and I was finishing my studies. Every day after school, we would have lunch together and he would come over to my house. At night, I would return home and we would spend time together. My mother was concerned about his background, so she suggested that we meet his family. We went to Campinas and we met his family. Soon after, he left my ex-mother-in-law's house and moved into a pension. He didn't go to college, but I encouraged him to do so. We enrolled in college in Taubaté, and he studied data processing. At the time, he was a first-year student. I lived in a pension in Republic and our relationship grew stronger. In the third year, I traveled every day by bus. We dated on the bus and our love only grew stronger. He was such a kind, considerate person. He would send flowers and notes to show his affection. He was very romantic. In January 1989, I was in my fourth year at the Faculty of Communication. We got married. I think he earned a salary and I think my parents were right. Our relationship was very strong. We got pregnant. It was frowned upon in the city. 20 years before finishing college music, we shared a lot of kisses and hugs, and it has always been like that. He would send flowers or notes to show his affection. On January 89, I was in my fourth year at the Faculty of Communication, and we got married. I think he earned a salary, and my parents thought it was a good idea. We dated for a long time, and then I got pregnant. People in the city spoke badly about it. We had a beautiful relationship, and I'm very grateful for everything we did. We had a lot of challenges, especially when I was 18 years old. My parents were sick. My father had cancer and my mother had Alzheimer's. I was an executive at an advertising agency. I worked with big companies like Ambev and Unilever. Life was crazy, but I loved it. I started in marketing and then my father's mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I'm so grateful for our relationship. It was beautiful. I'm very thankful for everything we did. We faced challenges though. At 18 years of marriage, my parents were sick. My father was battling cancer, and my mother had Alzheimer's disease. I was working as an executive in an advertising agency, handling large accounts for Ambev and Unilever. Life was so full of surprises. I transitioned from marketing for several companies, and then my father and mother were diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and cancer, respectively. I decided to leave my career behind and focus on taking care of my parents. During this time, I felt alone, but I had my father's business, my mother's business, and the house to take care of. When the doctor arrived, I greeted him and said, "I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to sleep well tonight." I left my job to take care of my parents. I was busy with my father's business, my mother's, the house, and everything else. During this time, I felt alone, but I was glad to have him. I slept well and he got a lover. We bought a house in Sao Paulo in Granja Viana. The apartment we lived in was part of the payment for this house. I didn't know anything because I was tired from the day we went to sign the transfer of the apartment. Right before the sale, he told me that he thought we shouldn't subscribe to it. I was in doubt, and then he was in a relationship during this time, and I was worried about how that would affect our relationship. We had bought a house in Sao Paulo, in a place called Granja Viana. The apartment we lived in was part of the payment for the house, and I didn't know anything about it because I was tired from the day of the apartment sale. He told me that he thought we shouldn't subscribe to it, and I was worried. I asked him about it, and he said, "So and so." I remember that I was involved in a relationship with her, and I thought I was angry at the time. It was the first time I felt that way. I looked for his face, but I found a mirror on the wall. I broke the mirror and I said, "So why did he say that?" I didn't call him, and I said, "How so?" I was tired. I remember the conversation, and I realized now that he was right about some things. I was involved with her, and I think I was angry with her that day. It was the first time I felt that way. I looked for his face, but I found a mirror on the wall. I broke the mirror and I said, "So why did he say that?" I didn't call him, and I said, "I'm tired." That day, I left home and told him I was unemployed and I would see if he would repeat that. I told him I don't want to know. I was taking care of my parents and now I'm back. Let's take some time for ourselves. I said, "I will leave this apartment. We will sign the contract because it says I had to deliver the keys and I don't want to know. You will rent the apartment for me, and..." On that day, I left home and said to him, "I'm unemployed and I'll be back. I don't want to know. I was taking care of my parents and now I'm back. Let's take some time for ourselves. I'll leave this apartment and we'll sign the contract because it says I have to deliver the keys. I don't want to know. You'll rent the apartment for me and I'll go back to Sao Paulo." I rented an apartment in Sao Paulo and went to live there alone. He had to deliver the keys because it said so in the contract. I said I won't give you a divorce because I didn't want to. I was created to be with you until death do us part. I realized that he was right about some things. We're not together anymore. I came to take care of my parents. I was gaining weight. I'll be honest, I was struggling to see the point of it all. I was in Sao Paulo renting an apartment where I was living alone. He had to leave because I was in the contract. I said I wouldn't give him a divorce because I didn't want to get divorced. I thought we were created to be together, even after death. But I realized he was right about some things. I took time to take care of my parents and I gained weight. I knew I had gained 120 pounds. I felt guilty. I felt like I was music guilty. Little by little, we were coming back. First, we went out to travel. "We forgive you, you know? I was to blame. He was to blame. We were two people who wanted to be together." I had matured a lot by that time. I was 38, and I was still a child. It was only because I was mature that I understood that time. I already did the rape. I know you're wondering about the 120 kilograms weight issue. I felt guilty and I'm still dealing with that, but we were coming back and we were traveling. We forgive each other, you know? I was to blame and he was to blame. We were two people who wanted to be parents, no matter how old we were. I was 38 at the time and I was still a child. It was only because of my maturity that I understood that time. I already did the rape, then we dated again and each one of us lived in the other's house. We returned to dating, which was something we had lost. Then the girl said she was pregnant with him, and we knew he couldn't have a child. He spoke so that I would speak like this. The doctor will seek a doctor to see if it's possible. The doctor said it was only possible through artificial insemination because there was no way. He always wanted to be a father, but there you go. We started dating again, and it was like we had found what we had lost. I was pregnant with his child and he couldn't have a child. He said, "I'll be the doctor and you'll be the patient." The doctor said that if we did artificial insemination it would work. He always wanted to be a father, but he didn't think it was possible for me, an executive, to be pregnant. Then he said, "I really want to be a father. I think I could be a father when this girl feels in him that desire, and I'll use it as a way to conquer it." I said, "So if she's pregnant, let's do the following. You always wanted to be a father, so let's adopt." He spoke to her and she looked at me. I had a career as an executive and I didn't really see myself pregnant. But when he spoke like this, I thought, I really want to be a father. I felt in him that desire, and I used it as a way of conquering it. I said, "If she's pregnant, let's do the following. You always wanted to be a father. Let's adopt from there." He spoke to her and she looked at me. Rika said, "As soon as you take care of your child," because I knew that he couldn't afford it. I said, "I won't get pregnant. I never dreamed of being a mother." So I took his dream of being a father. Then I said, "So let's adopt." It wasn't a lie of hers and we got it. We got admitted into the documentation to become a father. Music. And then it was a very fast process. We were admitted on January 1st. Rika said, "As soon as I learned that he couldn't afford it, I knew I had to step in. I told him I won't get pregnant. I never dreamed of being a mother. So we'll adopt." It wasn't a lie and we got it. We were admitted and got the paperwork to become a family on January 2nd, 2008. On June 25th, my birthday, I was presented for children by the forum. This child came to our house on July 18th, less than a month later. She had suffered abuse in the shelter and had a breakdown. She came home and we realized she had a number of challenging behaviors. I thought, I can't take care of this child. I warned the forum. I left Coca-Cola's license too. I was able to take care of him, but he didn't bond. A week after the adoption, I had to put him in school, and he looked like the Tasmanian devil. He had a lot of problems and the psychologist said he needed a mother because I was outsourcing a lot. I had a person, so I had one taxi driver who a week after adopting him, I started to realize that I couldn't handle taking care of him on my own. I had to put him in school, and there he looked like the Tasmanian devil, which is what they dubbed him. He had a lot of problems and the psychologist said he needed a mother because I was very busy. I had a lot of people helping me out, like a taxi driver who took him to therapy on Monday and Friday. He was in a place a lot, so he had several experts, including one from USP. Then I had the nanny who lived in the home and me. One day, I had a burnout. I entered the license and the doctor from the medical firm was great. He was very kind and said, "You need to stay a while." He decided to get some professional help, so he and his nanny went to see a therapist. They met on Monday and Friday. It was a really positive experience and they worked with several experts from USP. At the same time, I was working with a nanny who lived in my home, and I was also working on a product launch. One day I had a burnout. I entered the license and the doctor at the medical firm said, "You need to take time for yourself." I didn't want to be sent away, but he insisted. He said, "You need to do it now. Go to your mother's side." Then on the same day I quit. I remember going to talk to a director and she said, "Go stay. You will abandon your career." I felt like I had to go and know it was today. In the end, I saw that it was the best thing I did, but it was also the worst thing. I had a really tough time, and I decided to leave Sao Paulo and become a stay-at-home mom. I was really struggling with my behavior and I heard sirens a lot. My husband and I moved to Indaiatuba, where we lived in a village called Olympia, near Santa Paula. There was a hospital and he heard an ambulance. He thought he was hearing things. Dividing the best and worst of it, we decided to leave Sao Paulo and become a partner's housewife. We moved from Sao Paulo to Indaiatuba because I was having serious problems with his behavior. I heard the sound of an ambulance siren, and he thought it was a police car. It was a child with a lot of trauma. I moved to Indaiatuba, where my husband was traveling from Monday to Friday and was only at home on Saturdays and Sundays. We had a good period, but I continued to have problems. Even though he had therapy, he had a deviation from his character. I freaked out in Indaiatuba. Back in 2014, I was in Indaiatuba, and my husband was traveling from Monday to Friday, leaving me at home on the weekends. We had a good period, but as time went on, we still had problems. Even though he was in therapy, he had a personality change. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. I was overwhelmed and I felt like I couldn't take much more. I decided to go back to the interior and return to the fields. I have more support from my parents and relatives, but I felt like I needed to find my own path. I spoke to a guy who said that God would show me the way. I'm going to share my story with you. I'm going to send my resume to the University of Maggie das Cruzes. I'm not sure what will happen, but I'm hopeful. I'm also sending my resume to the rector of a university center here. The rector passed my resume to the coordinator, who called me to take a coffee. He said he was thinking of coming back to the house I live in. I asked the tenant to leave and then I said, "You can start in July. I'm a professor at the University of Maggie das Cruzes. I'll send my resume for the position there, and who knows, it might work out." I sent my resume to the rector of a university center here, and he passed it to the coordinator who called me to take a coffee. He said, "I'm thinking of coming back to my house. Today I asked my family to leave and then I said, this is my home. I'm moving back in." He said, "You can start in July on the first day of the World Cup." I was sitting in an interview when I spoke. So now that I've changed, I came to Pickett, and since then I've been here. What happened to the people who caught a rented apartment in Sao Paulo and ate? We thought right. He ended up going to work, not to study. He's going to study at the college building that I taught at because I had college there. It's a Salesian college, so music. We started a job here, and I tried to make bonds with him, but unfortunately, he became violent during his pre-adolescence. I suffered abuse and I ended up in the ML for crime body with 13 years. I had to be hospitalized for 13 years. He stood the whole pandemic, but he left once he started using drugs. We in turn knew up to 18 years and he did not have music. We started strong here trying to build a bond, but unfortunately it didn't work out. He became violent during his pre-adolescence and I suffered abuse. I ended up in ML for 13 years. 3 times for violent crimes. I had to stay there for 13 years. He was hospitalized for the whole pandemic. He left once he started using drugs. We interned him for up to 18 years, but he didn't have a diagnosis right then. It was just a deviation from his character. They didn't close the diagnosis. He was the child who disputes all authority and thinks he's always right. For example, I bought him a golden retriever to make a bow, and he was so excited. One day the golden retriever was his and he was so happy. "So you'll have to clean the golden retriever and the toilet." He peed 3 times. Puppy, he took the towel, wet the dog, and hit the dog. Never. The diagnosis was made right then and there. It was deviation from character. They didn't close the case, and he was that child who disputes all authority and thinks it's right in everything. I bought a golden for him to create a bow, for example. One day the golden was his and he looked at you and said, "You will have to clean the golden and the towel and the golden pee-pee." 3 times. Puppy, he took the towel, wet the dog, hit the dog, never came close to him. I hit all children. Then you see trauma of childhood as it corresponds here in the adult life. There girls us in. 3rd time he hit me, I was already with a guardian. I got advice on my Kangoat and he accompanied me from there. I said, "I can't take it to court." I asked for help in justice, and justice had nothing to do with it because he had not committed a crime. ECA protects a lot of children and teenagers, and he spoke so for me. I felt so close to him and I hit him. Then you see the effects of childhood trauma in adulthood. There were girls there. The 3rd time he hit me, I was already with a guardian. He advised me to go with him. I said, "I can't take it to court." I asked for help from the justice system, but they couldn't do anything because he hadn't committed a crime. The ECA protects children and teenagers, and he spoke. So I said, "I will kill you. I will kill you one day. I will kill you through 4 clinics. He fled and he made a mess in the clinics. Everyone escaped. He was very intelligent and we exchanged clinics. There was a moment where we had a shared moment. The teenage clinics were closed because they discovered something that looked like the CCP was leading at night. He returned home with 16 years. Then he came back and we had to shelter him. Then he didn't accept anything right. He was a very sensitive child. One day he said he would kill me and I said I would kill him. We ran away and went to live in 4 different clinics. He was very smart and we had a lot of conversations. One day the clinics closed because they found something that looked like the CCP was leading at night. He came home at 16 years old and 3 years later he came back and we had to shelter him. Then he didn't accept anything. One day my father fell and was hurt during surgery. He came home on Monday, and on Thursday my husband slipped into the apartment. We stopped at the hospital for the surgery and he was with us for months. Then he started to understand everything I said because it seemed crazy. He started to understand everything and he ended up catching the boy too. He was Pablo and he made art and stole the money from my Type R 700. My father had a really tough time recovering from his surgery. He was in the hospital for months and then he was stuck at home with us. It was so hard for him to understand what I was saying because it seemed like I was making things up. But he started to catch on and he even got the boy, Pablo, involved. He stole the money from my Type R 700. We went to talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. I said, "Opportunity, you know that family is totally dysfunctional." He got really angry and said, "Oh, I'm tired." I went upstairs. My ex-husband came in front of him, wanting to catch me. He punched his father in the middle of the stained ladder. Then we decided to go inside again, but there was no more. A group of people went to talk to him, and he spoke. I was a child at the time and I said, "Opportunity." He knew that our family was totally dysfunctional. He got angry. I said, "Oh, I'm tired," and went upstairs. My ex-husband entered the room in front of his father. He wanted to catch me there. He punched his father in the middle of the stained ladder. That thing happened and then we decided to go back to the hospital. We had to stay, so we decided to get help from several professionals. I stayed in the interior because he spoke like this, "I will kill you." This time was much more intense. He already imagined he was bigger than me and I was in Sao Paulo with his father. So he went there once and when he was there alone his father came. We separated. He decided to arrange a girlfriend in the Northeast with 17 years. We had to stay in the hospital, so we decided to get help from a few professionals. I stayed in the interior because he said he would kill me, and this time it was much more intense. He already imagined he was bigger than me, and I was in Sao Paulo with his father. So he went there once, and when he was there alone, his father came. Then we separated. He decided to arrange a girlfriend in the Northeast, and he met one when he was 17. It was a problem for the Northeast. He hit the girlfriend and the guardian council from there returned to Sao Paulo. He went into contact with me and I was accompanied by a psychologist. The psychiatrist sent a pro. When I was there in the Northeast, I turned 18. I spoke like this. Phew, now he responds for himself. I don't have anything more to say about it, and I'm in therapy. I said I need to get out of this difficult situation. The psychologist has to have for the Northeast. There were also some challenges. He returned to Sao Paulo and went to see a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist prescribed Prozac. When I was there in the Northeast, I was 18. I said, "Phew, now he responds for himself. I don't have anything else to say about it and I'm in therapy." I said, "I need to get out of this difficult situation." The psychologist has to break the bond of guilt because I felt guilty and I said so. He said, "You're not you. You did everything including abandoning yourself, your career, and your family to be a mother. I really spoke to you and then 18 years later I arrived. I spoke like this, now you wanted your son. I was a mother so far as now with you. I can't take this role anymore and leave him there. He keeps giving problems." I felt so guilty so I cut the bond. I said, "I'm not guilty." And he looked at me and said, "You're not. You did everything including abandoning yourself, your career, and your family to be a mother." I really spoke like this and then 18 years later I arrived. I spoke like this, "Now you wanted your son. I was a mother so I'm done with this role. I can't take care of him and leave him there." He keeps giving problems. In December he was traveling and hit his girlfriend, breaking her jaw and nose. He was placed out of the house and returned to Sao Paulo. He didn't go to live with us. I arranged a place for him to live. When I said he was going back, I went into panic mode and started feeling frozen as if I were a child. I wanted to make the link and tell him what happened. We distanced ourselves. I didn't understand what was happening and he started not. He was traveling in December when he met the girlfriend. He broke her jaw and nose. So he left and didn't come back to live with us. I was really worried and felt frozen. I couldn't make the connection and I couldn't tell him what happened. We started to distance ourselves. I didn't understand what was happening and he didn't want to talk about it. In January of this year, we celebrated 36 years of marriage. I went to Sao Paulo, but I was living somewhere else. I wanted to have a party, but I didn't. I decided to have brunch at the Cathedral of St. Mary of the Assumption. It's a beautiful place to eat breakfast. We started to climb the stairs to get there. Chino looked at me and said, I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have a party. I'm just going to have a nice brunch at the cathedral. He looked at me and said, so I will stay here. I didn't realize, but our marriage was already over. He was sitting and climbing some stairs because there are more than 500 steps. I said, no, but I'll get there. I'll put my hand on this bell. I'm determined. I realized that he was very angry and I cried every Monday. I realized that I had made a mistake. I didn't see the signs, but our marriage was over. He was sitting on the stairs and I said, no. I knew I could do it and I put my hand on the bell. I'm determined to do it and I do. I realized that he was very angry and I cried every Monday. I went to a psychologist because that man who sent gifts by mail, flowers, and everything started to not be present, to have nothing and to not call. When we went to sex, he was gross. I said, I'm doing everything alone. I'm living alone, right? My psychologist encouraged me to talk to him. I went and we had a conversation. He said, I don't know. I don't. I went to a psychologist because that man who sent gifts by mail, who sent flowers, who was no longer present, who had nothing, who didn't call, who didn't know, and who was gross when we had sex. I said, I'm doing everything alone. I'm living alone. I'll talk to him. My psychologist encouraged me to go and talk to see what was wrong. He said, I don't know. I don't. I said, for the love of God, tell me I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing something wrong because I don't understand. You are disappearing. He said, no, I'm me. I was in doubt and I doubted everything. I thought there was something else happening. I took the covenant. I said it was here. Very heavy. Let's go. So let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? It's not in our house anymore, so let's go. Music. This year on Mother's Day, I was here. I waited for him for lunch on Saturday. Since then, he's been calling me from Sao Paulo. When I entered the supermarket, I said, and then you're not coming here for lunch? He said, okay, so I won't. I said, I won't go this weekend and I'll stay here. And I'm not going, girl, I said, feeling upset. As soon as you say that I'm not a good mother, that I'm not telling my life, people will think that I'm not me. I cried that day and I cried all Sunday. Then I went to my aunt's house. I looked at her and cried. She said, this is. I said, no way. I'm not going. I was so upset. I said, you're saying I'm a bad mom? I'm just telling my life here. People said, no, you're not like me, girl. That day I cried. I cried. I cried. I told my daughter, I'm not sure. I feel like my wedding is over. I'm not understanding anything. On Monday, I went to a psychologist. The psychologist said, you know what you have to do. I said so, but how am I going to live? I abandoned my career. I became a partner just as the company went under during the pandemic. The company, like all companies, has had many problems. But we didn't pay taxes. I have no right, and we opened a company just for him to be able to participate in bids. All the company's revenue that I was a partner in is going to another company. How do I do? The psychologist only said, you know what you have to do, girl. I left therapy. I sat in the car and cried. I called the office and told her I was in trouble. I said, I'm dying strange and I have no right to anything because I'm a partner. The company is bad from the legs there. I'm worried that I'll be unable to participate in bids because I'm a partner in another company. I'm worried that my partner will leave therapy. I'm worried that I'll have to leave the company. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no right to a pension because I have a child. I'm worried that I'll have no, I said. I don't think I have the right to a pension because I don't have a child. How will I live? She said, you're married, so you have a community of goods. I looked at her and said, partial community of goods? She said, let's make a negotiation check. If that's what you want, let's go start negotiating. I arrived and said with him, I said, look, tell me what's happening. He said, I'm in doubt. I don't know how to stop. I said, so I don't want to live like this anymore. It's very difficult. I didn't want to separate, but I didn't want to separate. I said, I married you. I love you. But I'm not able to live with this instability. You come, you don't come. When I say I go to Sao Paulo, you say you have a course there this year. I started in A. I said, I'm not sure how to stop. If I can't manage to live like this, it'll be really hard. I didn't want to separate, but I said, I married you. I love you, but I can't live with this stability. You come, you don't come. When I say I'm going to Sao Paulo, you say you have a course there this year. A friend said, Erica, you have a case with so-and-so. I said I spoke for man. She likes everything he is. He likes everything she is. He is hers. All lives that he does so. Then I arrived for him and said, you are having an affair. He said, no, not how. I said, look, and it is apparent. People already came to ask me if you are having an affair. He won't stop at all. He won't stop. My friend said, Erica, I think you and so have a problem. I said, oh no, not again. I'm so sorry, but he likes everything about her and she likes everything about him. They're perfect for each other. I said, this is strange. I'm here to help. I said, you're having an affair. He said, no, not at all. I'm not going to stop. I'll stop. I said, okay, if I really separate us, I need to go back to the market that I was going to, and I just cried. I found my friends in Sao Paulo and I cried. I had to start antidepressants because otherwise I was going back. I was going back 120 kilograms. Then on the 15th I arrived there. He said, so why are you going to make this weekend? I said, I came to spend the weekend with you. It was the day of boyfriends. I said, okay, I'll go back to the market and do what I need to do. I started crying and my friends in Sao Paulo came to comfort me. I had to start taking antidepressants because otherwise I was going to gain 120 kilograms. Then on the 15th I arrived. He said, why are you going to make this weekend? I said, I came to spend the weekend with you, my boyfriend. He said, I'll take a course this weekend. I said, how so, a course from there? We had our first fight, but it was the first fight in 36 years. So fight on, you know we've had a problem for 18 years. You thought it was all resolved. He said, we all slept in a room that we had slept together in until then. I said, I'll take a course this weekend. He said, oh really? Which course? We had our first fight, but it was the first fight in 36 years. It was a fight for you and so for you. You know, we've had a problem for 18 years. You thought it was all resolved, he said. I go every night. We slept in separate rooms, but we woke up together. We slept in separate rooms and it was 3 hours from morning to night. I didn't sleep. I cried. He came into the room and said, I wanted to hurt you and I said things like this. From here to there, I don't want to talk to you. It was 6:30 in the morning when he came to the room. I was already calmer. He lay on the bed and stayed there. At 6:35 his cell phone rang. He touched it and said, "Eyes." Each day we slept in separate rooms and I didn't sleep. When he arrived in the room he said, "I wanted to hurt you," and I replied, "From here it goes there. I don't want to talk to you." At 6:30 in the morning he came to the room. I was already calmer. He lay on the bed and stayed there. At 6:35 his cell phone rang. He touched it and said, 0300, marketing here. 0300. 6:30 in the morning. "There's 3, he said. "I will pass coffee," and left my cell phone on the bed. Then I played again and I was the name of that person that my friend spoke of. He is having an affair with another person too. He also said this weird business right there. Played attendee. He hung up. He touched the 3rd. Sometimes I had the confirmation that it was you know that thing. Then I said, "Hi." And at 3 a.m. I was on the phone with 0300. He said there were 3 people there. I went to get my coffee and left my cell phone on the counter. Then I played the recording again and I heard my friend say that someone was having an affair with someone else. He also said that there was some weird business going on. Then I got confirmation that it was you. I said, "Hi, so," and then I hung up. Music. Then he was all embarrassed. It was for the area service and he came back. I said, "You know, right? Her mother has cancer and I did a job." I said, "Now for I don't want to know about." Sorry, no bass on the table. I said, "So, confirmed that you are having an affair with her." No, not at all. I'm not that type of person. I just wanted to talk to you for a moment. I'm your husband's friend and I'm here to talk to you. I'm in the kitchen. I'm here to talk to you. Music. Then he was all embarrassed. It was for the area service and he came back. You know, right? Her mother has cancer and I did a job for her. I said, "Now for me, I don't want to know about that." Sorry, no bass on the table. I said, "So, confirmed that you are having an affair with her." He is not that I am. I said, "Thus confirmed." He said, "It's me having an affair with her in this day." I said, "So it's over." And then I was angry with the brother of this girl. He was my personal friend. I called him. I said, "Look, I had said that I was suspicious that my husband and her sister were having an affair. Is that true? Is that ISS?" The L said, "I like this. I can't believe I call both when you can go to me." I'm not sure if I'm understanding you correctly, but I think you're saying that you had an affair with her. Is that right? If so, then it's over. I was upset with the brother of this girl, who is my good friend. I called him and said, "Look, I told you I thought my husband and her sister were having an affair. Is that true?" He said, "I like this. I can't believe I call both of you. You can go to me. I don't want to know." That's it. On June 25th, my birthday, and on June 15th I went to Sao Paulo. On the 23rd, I went to Sao Paulo. He was gone when I arrived. He left the apartment for me and disappeared. Then I learned that this girl isn't a girl, she's 53 years old, and I'm 56. She had rented a house for me. I said how she drove. 2 of them said no. I don't want to talk about it. On June 25th, which was my birthday, I went to Sao Paulo. On June 15th, I went to Sao Paulo. He was no longer there when I arrived. He left the apartment for me and disappeared. Then I learned that this woman is not a girl but a 53-year-old woman. She had rented a house for me. I said, "A house? If she's from there," she said, "my husband has set a house for her." I had rented a house for her. I waited, but it was not necessary for me to get that. That happened in the middle of our conversation. I was with a lawyer talking about what it would be like, the divorce process. Then, out of nowhere, an email appeared here at Free World Market that had been bought, a clothing basket. He tells me that I will leave the apartment and put it in the closet. I said, "A house? If she's from here, I'm sure my husband has set one up for her." I had already rented a house for her, so it wasn't necessary for me to get one. We were already speaking. I was with a lawyer talking about what it would be like, the divorce process. Then, an email from the Free World Market appeared, saying they had bought a garbage basket. It's a clothing basket, and he tells me I'll be leaving the apartment and taking 7 garden beads. I said, "I'll take 7 posts." I entered and saw the purchase, then called him and said, "Call me on WhatsApp." He took a while, then called me on WhatsApp. I said, where are you? He said, I'm here in the apartment. I said, so I won several flowers yesterday from there. He said, so I'm here at the house. I said, let's talk about it. House is such a... I was in a kidette with 7 other people in the garden. I said that I had entered 7 posts and seen the purchase. I called him and said, call me on WhatsApp. He took a while, then called me on WhatsApp. I said, where are you? He said, I'm here in the apartment. I said, so I won several flowers yesterday from there. He said, no, I'm here at the house. I said, like such as, right? How do you know me? I said, I don't need to look because the lie has short legs. It's over. It's over, and so I cried. I felt guilty because I did wrong. I know that I fell into a depression that is normal for people, and I also felt angry and wanted to avenge myself. He spoke, so I looked for her. I bought it on my card because she has a problem like that. I said, okay, I can go to Sao Paulo to get my things and clothes, and then we can have a date on the 17th of July. We had a consensual agreement, and then one day before I went to get my things, I told him that I wanted to live with her. He turned and spoke, saying that the field wanted us to live together. I said, so much bullshit in one day. I said I was going to live with her. I said, okay, I'll go to Sao Paulo, get my things, and bring them here. Then we'll plan the date. We agreed on the 17th of July. Then one day before I went to get my things, I told him about the apartment. He turned and said, the field wanted us to live together. I'm going to live with her, and that anger. I said, so, you're saying you're going to get a lawyer to make the divorce quiet? Then, on that same day, there was a conversation that I'm in the video for. I said I had an address and I was going to break all the windows and stone it. I was going to do what I could. I had a huge catharsis and I cried. I said a lot of things I didn't mean, and I felt despair. I turned off everything. I was 94 at the time, and my aunt called me. She said, Erica, come here. I'll make lunch for you. So I went to my aunt's house, and we had a heart-to-heart. We cried, and I told her everything. I told her all the things I had done wrong in my life. She told me to calm down. She said that if I said things I never imagined I would say, then women who are watching might think it would kill. But she said that if you go through this, it will make everything normal because we will. My 94-year-old aunt says, speak like this, Erica. Come here for lunch with me. I arrive at my aunt's house and we sit down to eat. Tiazinha starts to cry, saying, what did I do wrong? My whole life? All that I already passed? That's it. I say, calm down. I never imagined that I would talk about this, but women who are watching should know that if you go through this, you will think it will kill you. But it won't. I didn't see it. I was seeing that I was in the middle of a lie. And a lot of my main values is the truth. When we came back right the first time, I said, never lie to me again. Say the truth, tell the truth, because it was much easier for him to have said the truth and not kept talking. Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I don't know that because I didn't realize it at first, but I was in the middle of a lot of lies. One of my main values is the truth. When we came back right away, I said, never lie to me again. Tell the truth. It was easier for him to say the truth and not keep talking. Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I don't know that. Because you start to feel guilty because you don't understand what's happening. I learned one more thing. Sometimes I will talk about this phrase in doubt. Music, no. Then on Wednesday, I had this problem on Friday night. I was 48 hours without sleep. The lawyer called and spoke like this, it's all right. The divorce will really come out on day 17. That is next Tuesday, eh? He will honor everything, including you can name. I didn't want that married girl. I didn't want that married name. You start to feel guilty because you don't understand what's happening. I've learned so much over the years. Sometimes I'll talk about this phrase, no. Then on Wednesday I had this problem. On Friday night I was 48 hours without sleep. The lawyer called and said, it's all right. The divorce will really come out on day 17, which is next Tuesday. He will honor everything, including your name. You can name the married girl. I didn't want that married name. I didn't want that married name. I didn't want to use it. And how is everything? Very nervous. We didn't use it. We have seen it in the divorce. It was marked time. He and the other. And that thing like that, right? Wow. It's so angering to feel incompetent for not having a marriage of 36 years more 3 of boy. Then there were 39 years of relationship, dissolved during this period, and I at 56 having to go back. I made the decision to leave my job and pursue other opportunities, and I'm really glad I did. Looking back, it was both the best and the worst part of my life. If I hadn't gone through all that, if I hadn't left the corporate world, I would have said it was because I didn't take care of my child. But at the same time, I could have also abandoned myself, and I'm grateful that I didn't. I'd give up everything to create this thing with you, until death separates us. If I felt like a mother, I felt like a mother. When I was a child, I was a mother to the people I loved. I loved playing with them at school. I loved the tasty side of motherhood, like making cupcakes. I believed that I was going to change, that I was going to look like the child I was going to give the world. Then, as this dream started to take shape, things began to fall into place. I realized that I wasn't quite living up to my potential as a mother. Today, I've decided to embrace a new approach. I'm going to be the best mother I can be, and I'm going to do everything in my power to be the best mother I can be. There was a moment when I said, now, I'm not a mother anymore. But you don't just stop being a mother because I'm still worried about this young man I know. He doesn't have a bond with me, and it's been really complicated. There was a moment when I realized that I needed to in my therapy. I said things like, I didn't do it right. It didn't work out. But I had to change how I thought about it a lot. Now I speak like this. I was the mother that I got to be because of the mothers I saw. I started to look at mothers who are natural children who go through the same things with children who have a personality disorder and feel incompetent as mothers. Then as a mother, I'll talk like this. I did everything I could. I'm doing my best to get through this, even though it's really hard. I keep asking myself, am I going to be a mom because you think I have to deal with everything my mom went through and be the kind of mom who accepts everything people don't? Being a mom means missing out on having a child of your own. Music, this November, I'll have been separated for 4 months. I'm working on myself, and while I have my ups and downs, I feel like I'm getting there. I'm trying to be more centered and grounded. I'm not crying anymore, and I'm focusing on myself. I'm trying to rediscover what I like. Who is Erica Ramos? For 36 years, I went to Erica by the one who was executive in the corporate. No one knows Erica Ramos. How's the Bizeo? My site is still up. How do I like to do with the mess of this divorce with all these feelings? People are emotional. It's a tidal wave of emotions. You don't know where so much anger comes from. I know you're going through a lot right now, and it's totally okay to feel the way you do. I've been through something similar, and I'm here for you. I know it's hard to see the strength I had to ask for a divorce at 36 and a half, but I'm here to support you. I'm grateful for this relationship, even though it's been challenging lately. I'm here for you, and I'm so proud of the person you're becoming. Betrayal is always painful, but it's also a chance to grow and learn. The relationship I had with him was a significant part of my upbringing, helping me develop resilience and learn to accept what can't be changed. If you ask me today about his diagnosis, I would say he is a sociopath. These relationships can be really tough, and it's important to recognize the signs and find support. My son returned to live in the Northeast, and I'm grateful that he's back. Quiet. I can stay home, and my house looks strong because it has a camera everywhere. But I'm not sure if I'll stay here in this small town. It's a city of 12,000 people that doesn't offer many opportunities. Today, though, I'm here. Ravando knows all my story and is looking for new friends because all my friends are in Sao Paulo, where our friends are. I also have friends who are just starting out. I'm putting my house on rent. It's very large. Then when I was in Sao Paulo, I stayed with a host through Airbnb. I was going from one place to another, and I met a woman who was offering rides. I discovered a wonderful business in Sao Paulo that hosts dinner events every Wednesday. There you get to enjoy dinner with people you haven't met yet. It's a great opportunity to expand my network and strengthen my friendships. And I'm excited to share my story with you. This field is so important, and it's great to be on the side of other women who have been through the same thing. It's so inspiring to see that they support each other. I'd love to talk to you. It's all normal and you're not wrong. We sometimes think it's wrong to get angry, but I'm still taking my meds. My psychiatrist says that if you're blaming me, you're not to blame. Those who cheated on their responsibilities are to blame. He didn't lack truth in this relationship. It was one of the pillars that you had put as the base of the relationship. The truth. Then you speak. So man, I'm separated. I'm this. I'm eager to start making money, but I'm also keen on returning to the corporate world. I'm looking for an enterprise that's been around for a few months. I understand that it's a short-term solution, but I'm still in a period of mourning. I'm trying to find a way to solve this in 30 years in 3 months. I need to give myself some time and space to figure things out. I'm planning to talk to him today, but I'm trying to maintain a distance. I'm so grateful for this amazing friend who is like a brother to me. When life gets tough, it's important to find a way out of the mess. I started exploring another constellation formation that I found really interesting. Over the next few years, I'll be studying a bit to understand it better. We all have our stories, and it's important to embrace all the feelings. I'm so thankful to this woman who has taught me so much. She's here with all the hurt and all the vulnerability, but she also has this incredible strength. She speaks like this man. I can. I totally deserve to have a life today. I'm not going to think about another relationship you went through. You know that we take time and it doesn't take long. All of this was 39 years old, people. My first man, my first love, so it's a whole phase. Take this scars, look at the scars, see this woman who exists inside me, and try to rescue yesterday. Even my cousin, the national director from Mary Kay, had. I can do it. I deserve to have a life today. I don't think about the past relationships you've been in. You know that we were both in our 30s and it takes time to heal. All of this was 39 years old. It was my first man, my first love, so it's a whole phase. Take this scar, look at the scars, see the woman inside me, and try to rescue yesterday. Even my cousin, the national director from Mary Kay, had. Here at home I spoke like this. I'm seeing reborn that Erica, who was an executive, is inside. Don't abandon yourself, and never let anyone put you in a position lower because you let yourself. You prioritized others and neglected yourself. So in reality, I loved the son a lot. The husband and I forgot ourselves. Now I'm doing these rescues, to get down to the beach alone or invite a crazy friend to us. Just laugh and do something simple here. Here at home, she said. I'm seeing Erica again, the executive who was once inside. Don't abandon yourself, and never let anyone put you in a position lower than you allow yourself. You prioritized others, not yourself. So, in reality, I loved the son a lot. My husband and I forgot ourselves. Now I'm doing these rescues, go down to the beach alone or invite a crazy friend to join us. Just laugh and do something simple here. There are a lot of waterfalls and you can put your feet in the water. Sit at the Asa Delta ramp and see the opportunities that lie ahead. Erica is very proud of this woman who is, but I know a much better woman comes. I'm living a new phase and it's very freeing. When you talk like that, dude, now I can go to any place in the world I want. I don't have a dad anymore. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that lie ahead. I'm living a new chapter in my life, and I feel so free. I can go anywhere in the world, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. I've got nothing tying me down. Look at me, living in the Northeast with my 19-year-old son. This freedom feels incredible. I'm learning so much from this experience. I'm sharing my story of living with my ex-husband because he brought me here. I want to encourage you to learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward. I was wrong and I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned. I'm so grateful to have a mom who's not my biological mother. I'm 19 and I live in the Northeast. I don't have anything that holds me back. Look at how crazy this freedom is. For me, it's also about learning. Today, I'm telling the story of how I lived with my husband because he brought me here. I don't want people to make the same mistakes I did. I want to learn from my past and say, okay, I was wrong, so I can do better next time. In the next relationship, I'm going to do that. I hope you'll subscribe to the channel because there's new history every Thursday. Don't forget to activate notifications. If you're going through a divorce or in a relationship that's not working, come to our exclusive community for women. We're here to help you go through divorce without so much suffering or trauma. I'll leave more information here in our description. Music.